what's the biggest problem with the Fnatic one? What's the biggest? Because I'll tell you the obvious two to me. They're just the most obvious ones. Well, there's three technically. One, which no one talks about, is they fired Yamato Cannon and just quietly replaced him with someone else. I can't believe that's not even news, dude. People don't even talk about that somehow. Even though to me that was a massive issue.
Well, he got the blame for everything, so that's true. Like you just scapegoat. Like no matter what, you're like, oh, look at that. They left the Yumi up. You remember the Yumi? True, even though the punchline of all that was the decision that actually got them to beat fucking XL.
Yep,
that's why they won.
Agreed.
He literally won because he was willing to do that.
So the joke on that basically is, I'm with you. I actually think it's the inverse. I actually think he did a pretty good job, like pulling them out of the fire, even though everyone thinks he's the reason they don't. Then the number two one is, and I talked about this on some of the Insight, but I'm just laying all these up because you can go where you want with them. I cannot believe, Dom, if you'd have paused this show at any time after spring finals to the end of last year, if you'd have paused Best Damn League Show and said, right, Dom and Thorin, you have to make a prediction, gun to your head. If you lose, you obviously get your brains blown out. Does Fnatic have both Razork and Humanoid next year? We're both dead now, Dom. We're dead. We're corpses. We never made it in 2023. Like, I can't even believe that synergy still is in the fucking game. And then the third one is, I just don't even understand what went on in the brains of the GMs with the bot lane. So what do you want to take up? Is it one of these you want to jump into? Because these three are big for me, mate. I think it's wild. I think they've actually fucked their whole roster up, for real.
Well, yeah, I mean, so even more specifically, it just... What Humanoid is going to be playing? Are we going to get Humanoid at Worlds, or are we going to get regular split Humanoid again, where he's just like dying to every fucking gank and it just looks like he doesn't give a fuck? I mean, that Humanoid is so tough to watch because you know he's so much better than what he's doing, but he just does it so often that it's like you can't ignore it. So
by the way, as an aside, because you'll like this, right? This just shows you how weird people are in games when they really like a player. Like they can have cognitive dissonance and ignore everything they don't like. Because all you need to know is this, Stop. I've said this story in some Insight, but I've heard behind the scenes that what people say about Humanoid is that he's one of those guys where he has a really hard time like maintaining motivation if he knows he's better than you. Like if he thinks he's like twice as good as you as a mid laner, he might just sort of like phone in like a regular season game, was what I was sort of told, right? The problem with that is this, Tom, right? That's a good explanation for how he is and how he operates. Why do we hear that story? Because I've heard people hear the story, dude, and then go, oh, right, I hope he gets it. Like, no, what are you on about hope? Like, that's not acceptable. Like, what? Like, we're not just going like, oh, well, no problem then. Oh, you just don't feel like playing me. You think he's worse than you. So you lose to him. What? That's the opposite of what great players do. Do you know what a great player does when he senses someone's worse than him? Fucking stamps on their neck and just kills them outright and just destroys them, dominates. Like, dude, I can't believe people are cool with that. Look, I get, there's two factors with Humanoid that I do get. One, his peak level play is really, really impressive. I understand why people compared him to Caps. And two, look, as a narrative, that in a movie, that personality is cool. That's like the rock and roll, like, you know, swagged out. Like it's like the character from anime where they're the genius character with all the talent, but they've got the weird, like, personality idiosyncrasies. That's cool in narrative fiction. Like in real life, like that's quite difficult to deal with. That's not that cool, actually. I want just the guy who just plays League and wins, guys. Like, am I missing something? Why are we putting up with this? Because here's the thing, Dom. There's a lot of players who've had down years. Mate, he had some really egregious fucking times. Like if he hadn't got his shit together at Worlds, we would be talking very differently about this guy this year.
Yeah, I mean the thing about him playing well at Worlds, it just makes you feel like he's just not trying. It's like, damn, like, I don't even know. It makes you like, I don't know if I should think less of him or more of him for that. It's like, so you can get it together when you want,
true,
but you actually just don't give a fucking run it down. Like,
why don't you want to do it more? Exactly. Why do you want to do it every week, fucker? You know,
because like you said, like if you take a great player, right? Like you take somebody like fucking Kobe Bryant, and you hear any of the fucking stories that you get from players. It's like the way he sees that is like, oh, you're worse than me. I'm about to drop like 50 on you. Then, like, I'm gonna show how much worse you are than me. Like that's the so why does he want? It's like, well, you know what, fuck it, bro, I don't even need to prove myself. I mean, like, do you not care about how other people perceive? Maybe he's just that level. He doesn't give a fuck about anything. He really just does not care.
Also heard once he heard that maybe he just doesn't actually like League of Legends that much. He was just like, no, that's just death, please. Guys, it's a game where little Asian guys who look mega frail, like they haven't eaten for fucking months, just play 14 hours a day. Like, you're not going to get it. You're not going to make it if you don't love this game, guys. Like, it's League of Legends is already, I've always said this, I don't believe that League is full of toxic toxic people. I believe League the game makes human beings toxic. Right? It's already a totally toxic game. If you don't love it, what chance do you have? You're just locked in a gulag playing the game, mate. Like if I hear that, here's the difference, Dom. Maybe I could get through to the guy, like I said, the cool guy with the biker jacket who just doesn't care. You know, he's trying to be too cool. If the guy genuinely doesn't like League of Legends, like I give up. You know what I mean? Like, hello? Can I just get a midlaner who likes League of Legends? Yeah, thanks. Cheers. Like, I'll just give up at that point. Like, I'm not going on at that point. Come on.
I mean, you don't have to like every aspect of League, but at least like you have to find the part that you like. Like, I mean, the major part of that is like, don't you like just shitting on people on stage and looking really fucking cool and having everyone talk well about you? Like, is that not like, is that not good? Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's some ego trip or something, but like when I was a pro player, I enjoyed shitting on somebody in front of like 200,000 people. I'm like, oh, look at that. Like, and then like, even just like you go into like the fucking chat after, you look at like the YouTube comments and you like you don't get any dopamine from that either. Like, you got to find something that you like. It doesn't have to be that, but there has to be something that you enjoy about the whole process of it. And, you know, I mean, maybe they play on stage more this year and, you know, he ends up having that you know, drive again. I just want to see him show, like, I think he'll be good for the region if he just puts in his best. Like, he is one of the best, so if he puts in his best, everyone wins. Like, just do it, please. Humanoid, if you watch the show, which I know you don't, because I've even asked you to come on talk shows before, and you said I never go on any talk shows. I don't watch any talk shows. I don't want to go on any talk shows. I don't even want to talk to you right now. Like, just please, man, please just put in some effort, dude. Do it for Razork, man. Razork looks like he's gonna have a mental breakdown playing with this guy. Like he looks like he can't take it much more. Like he doesn't have much more in him to deal with watching this guy in. Yeah, I mean that's the first thing. The second thing about this team is like, I don't know if Reckless is still gonna be a top tier 80 carry in LEC. Like I'm not sure of it. I mean, I think that he probably is still good, but he didn't have an insane year with K Corp. You know, like there was definitely some times where you're like, is he still super good, or like. He's very hard to judge, and then I just need to see more of Rux. Like Rux played really well in the games he played at Worlds, but he played like 2 games, so there's a lot of question marks for me here. I think Wonder, it's fucking ironic because I think Wonder is like the most stable part of this whole team. Sure. Wonder's, and he was the guy that on previous G2 rosters you're like, oh shit, he's not playing the game. Like, I mean, I hope he performs, but like, I don't know if we can like bank on it with his level of work ethic. But he's actually the one you're looking to. You're like, nah, Wonder will be fine. He'll be good.
Yeah, the Wonder angle seems like the only one that doesn't have a problem. Like, for example, I even think, even though it didn't work out in 2021, that was because that was when Wonder had his downturn in form. Dude, this time around, I actually think the joke is, if you're Wonder, I think it's amazing you get Reckless. Like, mate, you're actually going to get to play some carry this season if that's the fucking meta. Like, I could see that working out. Like, Reckless is a guy who's very good at playing fucking weak side ADC. Like, that's great for you. The problem is all the other moves, like I said. Like, for example, look, I'll give credit to Fnatic. I understand they didn't think they were going to have Raz. This was supposed to be like El Yoya, and so the plan was reunite El Yoya and Humanoid, and we fixed the problem, right? That sounds great. I just can't believe they ended up where none of the moves worked out, and they just stuck with this mid and jungle, because I have to say, that mid jungle, especially considering, by the way, they finished like second and third overall, third 2 times, by the way, and went to Worlds. I don't know if I've ever seen like anti-synergy from a fucking jungle and mid like that. Both of whom, remember, individually are considered good players. Like, this is one of the craziest anti-synergies I've ever seen. So the idea, by the way, that like Koi can't just fucking keep Odoamne, but we get another year of Razork and Humanoid, like really? So then the other angle is obviously the bot lane one. I just don't understand why both gambles. Like, for example, maybe the Rocks guy is the move. Just put him with Upset then. I know Upset wants to play, by the way. Why not do that? I've also...
They played well together at Worlds. When they played together, they played well.
Is it? By the way, if in a world where they could have gotten El Yoya and then they just have Upset and Rooks, isn't this like a banger roster to start out with? Like, you got the gamble player on the support, you got the other pieces fixed, we fixed some of the synergies, we've got good play. Because the thing is, at the end, when you look at this lineup, this is the reason I have them in 5th, Dom. I think this team will just be a team that's in the playoffs every time, but I don't think they're winning anything. I think this is just a worse roster.
Yeah. I mean, the more I think about it, maybe like in spring, because I feel like they'll kind of follow a similar trajectory to last year, where they'll not really have it together until like the end, like maybe in summer they actually like make a run and potentially go to Worlds. I think that's a pretty reasonable trajectory for them to follow, because I don't know how they're just going to click instantly. Like, you look at the pieces, right? And the pieces that are left are the parts that had the least amount of synergy amongst the entire roster, right?
Yes, true.
Like when you consider Upset and Hilly, like at least they they enjoyed playing like even when Hilly would end, it felt like Upset just knew he was gonna end. Like like Upset was be like, okay, I'm like following you up, okay, and then sometimes Hilly would end and be like, yeah, I just knew that one was bad. They had that inherent synergy. Honestly, I blame Humanoid for the issues with Razork, because Razork is like a nervous dog. You know, he's like one of those. He's like a dog that like came from like a shelter that's like been abused, that has that's like scared, that you need to like make feel comfortable. And then Humanoid is not like the abusive owner. Humanoid is just like somebody who's just like really, really, really like hard to be around. He's like a guy who like just like, imagine you're just the nervous dog and you get paired with a guy who's just like watching sports and just like screaming at his TV like every time something happens. The dog's like, what the fuck, like. What's happening? Like every single time he just has a reaction, you just get fucking scared out of your mind. It's just like, it's the worst thing possible for that fucking paranoia. Yes. So I just like, honestly, like if Humanoid could just like try a little bit harder and back up Razor and look like he actually wants to play with Razor, I think everything will work well. But man, it was impossible to have that happen last year.
Yes. Oh, by the way, on the Razork side, I also think that is another tragedy, the fact that they're doing this lineup again. Mate, from what I've seen of Razork, remember, by the time the playoffs arrived in summer, and especially at Worlds, he was having some really good poppy games, dude. Like, he had some games that were actually looking really good. Like, his mechanics are clearly legit. The problem is, like you say, if you look at his, like, personality, the personality balance in this team is fucking appalling. This team, Fnatic, right now, is, like, Wonder, like, swag out guy who sort of doesn't care. Humanoid, like, just doesn't seem to care at all. Razork, like you say, has got like fucking like big wife syndrome or something. It's really disturbing. He just seems like super nervous about everything, like fucking white to the eyes 24/7, like if he was a dog, like, you know, when they're like really nervous like that. Like, yeah. And then the Rooks guy's a brand new guy, a rookie, paired with, I'm gonna guess, probably the most jaded player in the entire LEC, Reckless, like, who, by the way, I'll make the joke again, is slowly turning himself into the world skin he will never win. That's a bit harsh. That's
okay,
it's a little bit harsh. I can't lie. It's a little bit. By the way, as an aside, this isn't actually a joke. If people are going to look, I understand why no one can take this comment from me without thinking it's facetious. But I actually, as an aside, I'm mildly worried about Reckless Tom, for real. Between one, he looks really gone. Like he looks like he might be like undernourished, for real. And then two, look, I know people can live their lives however they want. I am a bit disturbed by like why is he making his whole body that like Varus thing? Like, look, he can do what he wants. It just makes me a bit concerned. Maybe something's going on with him. I don't know, mate. I've wondered the last few years, ever since he joined G2, basically. It seems to me, if you ever read the interviews, it seems to me like even he's a bit like he doesn't know. Does he enjoy these teams? Is it the right scenario? I don't know what's going on in his career, mate. So that's why I just wonder, because a player like him, I also do think, like we said on the Hans Hammer point, I think he has to be in a comfortable environment. I think you have to be with. I know from teammates in the past, things have to be his way to some degree. He has to be comfortable to perform his best, and he can be really good, obviously. And is one of the. There's the other thing. I'll give him credit on this, Dom. Of all the players you would predict could bounce back, just like Doublelift and LCS, I assume Reckless will get really good eventually. He's just done it every time, hasn't he? Like, why would you say he wouldn't? There's no reason to bet against him.
Yeah, I think the thing that worries me, like, I don't really read into like whatever like tattoos he wants to get or any of that. Like, I don't even like think about that stuff anymore. For me, the thing that worries me is I was watching the LPL earlier today, and they did this thing where they were giving like presents to like all these like random players, right? Yeah. So they gave like a present to Reckless, and what he said, he was like, oh, I'm just like happy that they like remember me, and it's like,
that's so brutal in that all.
Like, bro, you're like one of the most famous players ever. Like you're maybe the most famous Western player ever. You were in LEC every single year on top teams, besides for the last one. Like,
and all those worlds he's been to. He's been like a million worlds as well. Yeah. I know, exactly.
Like, why would anyone ever forget? Like, I should be saying that shit. I'm the one that should be out.
Like, yeah, but here's the problem, Dom. Like, the problem with that scenario there, Dom, is that's one of those me think the lady doth protest too much. That's just him getting fucking. Basically, Dom, that's the Reckless equivalent of when a girl in esports just posts on her social media on like an Instagram story, like a temporary thing, like, oh, I'm feeling really low, like I'm just so ugly, Anna, and then like it's like a compliment fishing thing. Like all the messages will be like, no, you fucking straight fire. What are you talking about? Oh, you are lit. Like all that. They're just doing that. So that's like his version. Like, oh, I'm just glad you guys over in the LPL still remember little old me. And then they're all like, no, Reckless, you are a legend. You are the greatest. He's like, oh, thanks. They still remember me, guys. He's just an narcissist, man.
Yeah, I don't know if that's it. Like when I watch it, I'm like,
who knows?
I mean, I don't really know him that well, so I don't know if it's that or if he actually is like that, like low on himself. He's like, yeah, I was in like LFL for a year.
It could also be both. Like, if people don't know, that's one thing that would probably shock a lot of fans. I know a lot of pros come off as really cocky, but actually, even some really great pros sometimes do lose confidence in themselves like that. You know, something goes against them, they just think it's over. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm like, for me personally, I'm like a very literal person. So like, I just take people's like words for like that they're expressing themselves as they really mean, which I know like can have its own like flaws in it. But when I hear that, like, I actually just took it at face value. I'm like, damn, like he might actually think that like people don't really like remember him. Like, I didn't even look into like maybe he's trying to like, you know, backdoor his way into compliments or something. I was like, damn, bro, like, are you good? Like, that's how I felt. That's how I felt with the whole thing. So I'm like, he still knows that he's like one of the best ever, right? Like, he's gonna be fine in this Fnatic team. He'll still just play like he's reckless.
No problem for him. Yeah, he should be fine.
I hope so.
By the way, as an aside, before we move on, what do you actually think on the Yamato cannon angle? Because like I said, look, maybe it's an unpopular take. I think he was scapegoated by the Fnatic fans on Reddit the whole year. I think the opposite. Like, here's my problem, Dom. It's true. If I look at the beginning of the year, I even said it on this show. If you have a roster like his, you do have to win. I'm sorry, you just do. The roster on paper did look insane and had its chances to win. So it's not like he can't be fired. But like, I do think once the problems had already been established and once these issues that I think will even continue past his tenure, I think he did a very good job in those summer playoffs through to Worlds, mate. I thought he actually looked like, from what I can infer from outside, like he was one of the main reasons they got this shit together. So I'm kind of shocked by it. I know obviously people are going to know we're biased because he's been on the show, etc. But I wouldn't, if you don't know, guys, look at some of the other guests we have. I don't just stand up for everyone who comes on the show. There's some people I think I even like them on shows. I just don't think they're that good at their job. But I will stand up for this guy. I thought he did a good job.
Perfect example. Right when I was doing the LPL stream, I got recommended. I watched a video. I got recommended your video where you were responding to like people's like dumb takes. Like, it was just you just like shitting on people's bad takes. Kadril was on our show twice, and you were just shitting on Kadril like a month later, just like going off on him. So
it's true. That is true.
I feel like no one has to worry about that with you. But yeah. Back to the Yamato point. For me, there's this like, I understand what the idea of it is. Like, if you're a coach of a team that has a good enough level of players, you just have to win. You have to win, and it's your job to motivate them no matter what. Like, it's your job to get them in a position to win no matter what. But like, that is not actually possible in every situation. Yes. That's just something that you like to say because that's like the job of a coach. It's like, well, you know, he just didn't find the right way to motivate them. Like, trust me, if I went on a team and I tried to lose as much as possible and I'm like, nope, not going to practice. Nope, I'm not going to do this, not going to do that. And I just protested as hard as possible. You cannot motivate somebody who does not want to play unless you have like full roster control where you can start benching stars and you can like do a whole mastermind, you know, concoction there, which is not the power that you have when you're a Fnatic head coach. Like, when you have players of that caliber, you have to keep those players unless something crazy happens where you can justify. It's like, well, this guy like did something super fucked up, or he like, you know, physically assaulted a teammate, or so. Unless something crazy fucking happens, you just have to stick with those players. You don't even have the authority to really really do what you want to do regardless. So I feel like being an esports head coach, I mean, that's the reason why it's not that appealing to a lot of people that could potentially do it. You look at the situation, it's like, damn, that is the most thankless job. Like, when you're a coach, and if you are a coach of a really good team, you have the potential to win, and you don't win, you just get shit on. And if you win, you didn't deserve any credit anyway because the players you had were so good.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's basically what Grabs' whole fucking life was like in the G2 Super Team, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was just it every day for him.
And now look at Grabs. Look at Grabs. He's trying to stream. His internet's dying every day. He's just some drunk German dude flaming in German while playing TFT. Look what happened to him, man.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.